All right. Good evening, everyone. For the ones who have joined us for this yet another exciting session, I would say, on the IRE Talks, powered by GIBS Business School from Bangalore, Karnataka, India. And I'm all happy and honored to host my good friend from Malaysia today, Dr. Ging Lee, who is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Affairs, and the Dean of School of Management and Business from MILA University from Malaysia. So, for those who have joined us from the different institutions across India, quickly to mention that GIBS is one of the premium business school from Bangalore, nurturing the budding entrepreneurs. It's been a decade-old journey for GIBS right now, and we are in the expansion stage as well. And we had a great honor of producing a lot of entrepreneurs who has, I would say, started off amazingly in their journey, and that's the whole reason, keeping that entrepreneurship vision in the mind. That's the whole reason why we have started a flagship program named IRE, which stands for Innovation, Research, and Entrepreneurship. So this runs a complete program, a one-year program for the students, and it's an experiential learning, I would say. At the same time, we run numerous podcasts where I have hosted, GIBS has hosted a lot of guests, a lot of entrepreneurs in the podcast. And we also we are called as a global institute. So we are true to our name, and we try to connect the wonderful resources across the world and invite them for virtual sessions like this. And today, when I connected with Dr. Lee just a couple of days back, he was happy to accept my invitation. Dr. Lee, on behalf of all my colleagues, my students, and all the participants joined here, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you. Welcome to you, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Prof. Guru. Thanks for your invitations for this important event. Thanks for your trust on me for a speaker for this event here. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. For the participants, I must say that I, along with my management team, had a great opportunity to visit MILA University a couple of months back, and we are indeed happy to have been associated with them. We have signed in a formal MOU with them, and we'll be exploring a lot of collaborative activities with MILA University. Yes, for today's topic, we have framed it as vision to venture, now entrepreneurial journey. And just for my viewers, I would like to inform that we are not going for a typical PPT-based session. I decided to take it up this time with Dr. Lee in terms of the Q&A. We'll be having this session as a panel discussion. We will be taking one-on-one questions. Please monitor those questions. And at the end, I would request students to post those questions which is different than what I have actually addressed Dr. Lee. So this is my sincere request to all of you. So yeah, we are good to go. So Dr. Lee, you also happen to be the Dean of School of Management and Business, which I'm very sure you would be nurturing a lot of entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, the futures of tomorrow in your institute. As we also run a similar program, I really want to know your insights. What is that? How do you train? How do you nurture these entrepreneurs in MILA universities?
Okay, I think that before I respond to these questions here, now my background is very technical person. I'm economist. I'm trained in econometrics, quantitative-based person. So therefore, it's like this question is quite interesting in terms of how a person not in 100% in business, in entrepreneur area, we look at the training linked to developing entrepreneur and look at entrepreneurship here as a perspective here. Now, so before I respond to this question, I think that it is good that we reflect a simple question, a simple statement about what is our understanding about entrepreneurship. If let's say, for example, someone asks us, what is entrepreneurship? I think that if you look at journal articles, if you look at newspaper articles, the simple thing we able to get the definition will be entrepreneurship look at the process of creating and managing a new business venture while taking on financial risk. Now, if you look at creating and managing a new business venture, this basically means that entrepreneurs, they must able to identify new opportunities and they're able to convert ideas into new product and services. Now, the ability to identify opportunities, is it gifted or is it can be trained? I think this is something we need to ask here because why? If ability to identify opportunity is gifted, then basically our entrepreneurship programs, our courses linked to entrepreneurship, meaningless.
Absolutely.
Okay. And personally, I believe that based on my experience, entrepreneurships is a combination of both. It linked to giftedness and also linked to acquisition. Now, not everyone can become a successful entrepreneur, but they have ability to execute entrepreneur skill. So therefore, it's like we as a university, the first thing that we need to do is how can we transform our students, our graduate, or the business leader to have the right entrepreneur skill? Now, which means that as a university, the biggest challenge is it's not about the subject that we put them together and then become a program. I think the biggest challenge for us is can we create supportive environment that allow us to groom entrepreneurial behavior in the university. Now, so therefore, so when we look at supportive environment here, this means that we have to look beyond the normal classroom activity, like for example, mentorship program. Now, I think that when you say mentorship program, it sounds simple. We say that we bring people from industry and expert to talk to our students, to share their experience with our students, but how to bring them in? And then decide, like for example, if you look at university or higher education institution, in the neighboring area, do we have industrial hub or not? We have science park or not here? If we are close to all this area, we are easy to engage all these experts. But if our location is not close to them, then to bring them to the university can become a challenge here. So that first we have to think about now is that how to bring them to the university. I think that's one of the main things here. Now, and then the second perspective would be for mentorship program, we have to look at workshop and seminar. And this workshop and seminars here basically will be very core business planning, because we always believe that student can do planning, but actually can they really do business planning or not? And then also financial management, because we know that a successful entrepreneur must able to deal with financial difficulties, because we know at the earliest stage, they may not able to get the right funding, they may not able to get the right support here. And as a university from here, we need to build a network opportunities here. Now, I want to share one example why network opportunity is very important. A bit about my background. I was with University of Nottingham, Malaysia for 19 years. And in 2012, the alumni of Nottingham, Malaysia, two engineer, one business student, they do a startup in food and beverage industry. And they create one of the major brand in Malaysia. Imagine two engineer and accounting student know nothing about food and beverage, but they're able to explore these things. So I think that we need to bring all these graduates together here. Now, so then we have to reflect on their success here. Why the student able to have the skill set after graduates from undergraduate program, they're able to explore the new opportunities here to implement in MILA universities here. We actually say if this is undergraduate program, entrepreneurial behavior is a journey, not like one subject alone. It's a journey to integrate entrepreneurial behavior across the 3-year programs here. So that therefore, it's like in the program design, our first when we do changes years ago, we've been criticized. We teach entrepreneurship in the first year of undergraduate program. Usually entrepreneurship we taught in undergraduate, second or third year.
Correct.
We introduce entrepreneurship in the first year, and that entrepreneurship subjects, we focus on 2 keywords. It is about let students understand and appreciate the importance of creativity and innovation. Because we believe that sometimes when students they start to learn different type of functional subjects, they reduce their risk-taking behavior. They become more risk-averse. So when they become more risk-averse, they were not able to see opportunity or threat. Because sometimes we know a threat will give opportunity, but when you become a risk-averse person, everything is not doable. So therefore, we introduce entrepreneurship in the first year, and then in that course, what we do is that we want students able to do pitching, because we know that if they're able to do pitching, this is where they can attract the investor. So
Correct.
that's how we do the assessment. Then the second semester, we introduce new venture creation. I forget to mention one very important course here. In the first year, first semester, we also into a subject called computer and business. It's not about how to use IT, it's about the jargon and understanding the implication of technology on the business world. So
Right.
therefore, before they go to the business world, they reflect on the trend. Now, that subject, students need to do consultancy project. And all the project need to solve the problem. It's not within Malaysia. It's outside Malaysia. So they act as a consultant. So from here now, which means that they learn about planning. So we start from the first year. Then the next thing what we do is because we know as a business program, you have marketing, you have strategic management, and entrepreneurial characteristic will be built into all the subjects here. So therefore, you start something at the beginning. Then after that, we do piecemeal bite-sized thing in the different courses here. So by doing this, the student actually they start to learn, and then this also apply to the engineering student also here. Okay, I think I should stop here because if I can continue talking about the program design. Yeah.
Well, I think you will agree to this point when I say what is more important today for students or young entrepreneurs is to develop entrepreneurial mindset,
Yes.
right? It's not just the dream that you have to become an entrepreneur, but you need to have that entrepreneurial mindset. So, what do
Yes.
you think the key qualities of the mindset that these young entrepreneurs should develop?
Okay. Now, it's a difficult question to answer because if you look at what been listed, there's a long list of the characteristic and attribute. Yeah. But for me, I will order them. I'll focus on three. I order them in this type of important here. The first one will be self-confident and self-belief. Okay, but not many people say why I put self-confidence and self-belief here because if you do not have confidence on your own self, how can you lead a team go for the same success? Because we need a confident leader. That is the first fundamental thing that I believe here. Because why? This link to the ability to overcome the challenge and the ability to achieve success. Okay, so and that's the first thing here. So when you have the self-confidence, the next thing that will happen will be you set the vision. You're able to set the goal setting here. Because if you don't have a self-confidence, everything you set after a few months, you will change, which means that you're never able to have persistence and stamina to complete the journey. Okay. And so because we also understand that the journey to have a successful venture is always up and down.
True.
So you need the self-confidence to deal to be resilient and to be perseverant here because this is something you need. So I will put these three as a main so-called the attribute here and the mindset here because without this, any business planning will not work.
Absolutely. I agree. Do you agree at the very young age, people will develop a lot of their, I would say, hobbies as a passion.
Mhm.
Now, do you think is it necessary for them to align these passions into a business idea, or do you think sometimes passion can mislead at times?
Okay, passion linked to emotion. Therefore, it's like passion will drive us to
Hmm.
take challenge, and passion will drive us to pursue something we love. I think this is very important because if we are not doing something we love, we able very easily will abandon anything that we plan here. So passion is needed to become a successful entrepreneur. Because why from the passion, we able to develop persistence and motivation because we want to achieve. That is something that go back to the case of sometimes passion and self-confidence may have some form of correlations here. Now, and then also because of the passion, we may willing to explore a niche area. We may able to introduce, let me say this is a product or service that very unique to the market here. But definitely when you have passion because it's linked to emotion, then we have problem. It may cloud our thinking process. We may not able to think objectively because it's my passion, but we never use all the tool to do the right evaluation. Now, and then sometimes because of this, uh, they forget about at the end, an idea need to lead to product, need to have buyers. If you don't have the market, what is the point of convert an idea into the product here. So I think this is something that will happen here. And also, sometimes we never think about when we want to launch a product, the journey can be very tough, but the life cycle for the product need to be long. If a product can be in the market for 1 or 2 years, then it will not lead to a sustainable business opportunity here. So I think this is something that we need to evaluate here because passion will cloud us in our thinking process.
True, true. What I always found with these youngsters, which is also very much positive, they're always high on energy, high on aspirations, right? And very hungry to achieve something great, and very much on the speed as well. But at times, speed is dangerous. So in the initial stages, you will agree to this fact that entrepreneurs have committed a lot of mistakes
Mhm.
in the very initial stages. So, what is your thought for those entrepreneurs to avoid these mistakes at initial stages?
Okay, I would say that mistakes are unavoidable
Yeah.
because if mistake can be avoided, it means that the ideas is not new. It mean that when we look at our ideas, we're able to figure out all the possible challenges to solve the problem. It means that it's something been in the market for a long time. Therefore, it's like if we want to look at how the idea can be transformed to a new product or new services, basically, even sometimes you want to do market research, you may not able to really understand, even in market research, you will not really understand the full perceptions on the new product here because it's completely new to the market here. But
Right.
we need trial and error here. Now, so I think that for this part is that for me, I would say that sometimes, based on literature, we always say that the most common mistake that made by entrepreneur is linked to team building. Get the right small team here. But I think that this is not the so-called the major mistake here because in practice, very often for the new organization, because of limited resources, you only have that few person. You cannot choose. You don't have time to really choose here. So therefore, I would not classify the team as a so-called the major mistake here because as a leader, when you build a team, you need to lead them. I think that's one thing. Therefore, this is important. Now, for me, I would say that the major mistake now is underestimation of resources needed to convert
Absolutely.
idea into the product here.
Absolutely.
Because we quite often we are too optimistic. We never think about cash flow. We also never think about unexpected expenses here in the launch. I'll put that as a core thing because without the resources, we cannot launch any product or services here. Okay, thank you.
Um, I always believe entrepreneurship is a game which is not played individually but as a team, right?
Mm,
So the initial stages, what is more challenging today, I find myself in the budding entrepreneurs that two important challenges. It is just an extension to what you have answered just now. A is a team building. Having the right man in the right place is very, very important.
mhm,
Second, your leadership style. So,
mm.
what is your suggestions on these two important pillars of entrepreneurship, team building and the leadership style?
Okay. Uh, I go back to a point which I mentioned earlier,
Yeah,
self-confidence and self-belief.
right.
Um, it's very important to be a attribute for a leader to lead a new initiative here. Because when we have self-confidence and self-belief, we're able to lead by example. Because you see, at the initial stage of the startup, it's a small organization. You have small number of team members here. So therefore, it's that we need to able to lead. And then from here, we build the value for the organization. We build the culture for our organizations. Now, and I don't believe that some leaders say like this here. To be a good leader, we able to segregate the team and define the roles and responsibility clearly so that everyone know what to do and how they manage. But as a small organization, like what we say in Cantonese, we say "Yak chok tak" mean one leg kick. We have to do everything. So therefore, it's like at the early stage, it's not about role and responsibility. When you look at leader, it's more like we have to foster collaborative culture. So therefore, it's like the team need to able to work together as a team to solve different problems, and then we have to just involve. So this is what I will focus more on. The leadership style here is that at this stage is that we need to be really believe in our own self and from let other people to think that we are the leader, this is a good idea, and join the team and lead to the success.
Very true. You mentioned this a while ago, and we all agree to this fact that entrepreneurial journey is not definitely a red carpet journey. It will be a lot of ups and downs, a lot of volatility. Some challenges are anticipated. Some challenges are definitely are not anticipated. For example, you had a big economic recession which happened in 2009. Okay, let's not forget about 2020 global pandemic, right? These are the challenges which an entrepreneur faces without any expectations of that. So, how do you think the concept of resilience, how do entrepreneurs build resilience and still continue to move on despite of all these challenges that they come against them?
Uh, you realize that I go back to one simple keyword here, linked to self-confidence and self-belief here.
Right.
Because we know even big organizations,
Right.
sometimes they were not able to take the impact of the down.
Mhm.
We look at Asian financial crisis, we look at global financial crisis,
Right.
big conglomerate, they fail. So
Right.
that therefore it's like for entrepreneurs, the up and down will be, I'll say that more frequent at the initial stage, and then
Right.
that will be much bigger for them to actually able to absorb here, so able to absorb. So that therefore it's like when we look at them to build resilient, the first thing is still needed to believe in themselves that their ideas is the idea that can work. Because if not, too many downturn, too many downs will actually discourage them to abandon a good idea. So therefore, it's like they need the self-confidence, self-belief to have a growing mindset that to identify more opportunity even during the downturn, because we all know that, like for example, in I use the word in Mandarin in Chinese. Like for example, when you say crisis, if you're aware of this thing, crisis in Mandarin consists of two words: 危机, 危 mean threat, 机 mean opportunity. So
Correct.
therefore, it's like we always say like this: that when you have a threat, you always have opportunities. So therefore, it's like if an entrepreneur unable to have the belief that the threat can be converted into opportunity, then they were not able to succeed here. But obviously, during the difficult time, to overcome the emotions, we need to have a good supportive network because this is where you get the mentor, you get the peers, you get the advisor to discuss or overcome some of the problems here.
Mm. Absolutely. One of my favorite topics always has been success management versus failure management, right?
Mhm.
An entrepreneur would definitely see both of it. And
Mhm.
managing both is very, very difficult. I always love this quote: handle success with humility and face failure with the dignity.
Mhm.
I'm sure you also have various examples where a successful entrepreneur has failed and a failed entrepreneur has really succeeded in the long run. Is
Mhm.
success management and failure management is real a tough task for the entrepreneurs? What do you say?
Oh, okay. Let me just uh, move away from entrepreneurship. Just do a sharing here for a
Right.
reflections. Then we go back to your questions here. Now, today, I'm a professor.
Mhm.
I'm the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic Affairs.
Right.
But a lot of people will say like this: you are a professor, you have published many papers based on your track record, based on experience here. If you would like to publish more paper, should not be a problem because of the experience and the success. But we all know that the journey of success may always have the journey of failure. Like for example, like recently, I have 3 submissions to a journal article being rejected. So I think that this is something that very important would be that even a person have a good success journey already, at some point we have a bit of hiccup in our career here. Now, and so because of this reason, for me, I myself, we always ask, a very simple question. Every evening when I reach home, I ask myself, today, based on my decisions, how many of my decisions create impact on the university? Because we need to reflect. Okay, because sometimes we make decisions, but our decision may not create a positive impact. Then at the same time, I also ask myself, today, what are the blunders I make? Okay, and we can make wrong decisions. We never 100% make the right decision every day here. So based on the wrong decision we make here, how we affect the emotion of the colleagues, how we affect the direction for the university. So therefore it's like if I bring this back to entrepreneurs here, it basically means that we need to do reflections and re-evaluation on every failure, even success. We also need to do an evaluation here. Then we able to learn, we able to relearn ourselves, we able to get a new way to tackle the problems here. So in other words, like from learning we grow, and from learning from the failure we actually have resilient building. I think that's very critical here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Dr. Lee, today is the era of globalization, right? A lot of them think of expanding their businesses, crossing their national borders, and establish some units or satellite offices or get into export and all that. So there is a global touch to your business.
Hmm.
So yes, I mean, these entrepreneurs should aim big and cross the national borders and explore the global opportunities. How do you suggest them on this matter?
Okay, personally, um, because if you look at let me look at going back to my basic starting point. I say that entrepreneurships is linked to managing, identify a new venture,
Right.
and then entrepreneurs is about ability to find opportunities here. It means that if you look at this, it basically means that whether we go outside a country or
Mhm.
within a country, the challenges are exactly the same.
Okay.
Just a simple example. Let's say, for example, today you look at India. There are so many states, but they're
Right.
the same. They're heterogeneous. So,
Right.
therefore, it's like if we never able to treat a country markets the same
Mhm.
as a heterogeneous global market, it means that we were never able to penetrate the local market. We never able to penetrate the global market here. So,
Agree.
therefore, it's very important that we need to make. For me, my personal view is that whether local or international market, they are equally challenging. Okay, so because of this reason, we need to understand the local requirement. We need to understand the local network because simple example, if you look at Malaysia, Malaysia is a small country, 35 million population, but we have East Malaysia and West Malaysia divided by South China Sea. Culturally, the two locations are not exactly the same. So it's the same thing like when we just move across the sea or take a flight, go to another country here, they are equally difficult to manage here. Okay, that's my view. So there's no difference here. So and then because of this, which means that to be adaptive to all the markets here, we need to really rely on technology. We really need to rely on the data for the sound decision making because even I think at this one of the biggest challenge like this, we can find the data linked to another country. We cannot find the data linked to local market. Then we weren't able to penetrate the market, local market easier compared to international market here.
Good.
Okay.
True. Very true. Very true. Talking about the ecosystem, I'm happy to tell you the entrepreneur ecosystem is quite great in India, especially over the last 1 decade. Since you are running a business school in Malaysia, you are from Malaysia. So I just was keen to understand how's the entrepreneurial ecosystem created in Malaysia? How is it?
Okay. As I mentioned just now, Malaysia is a small country,
Right.
35 million population compared to India, almost
Right.
1.5 million, a billion already.
Yes.
So therefore, it's like the biggest challenge will be how to capture the 1% of the market. You see, like in India, we can
Mhm.
talk about 0.01%.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
0.01%,
Right.
The market is huge. So
Very.
the key challenge now for Malaysia is that our market is not huge enough. And also another challenging aspect will be in Malaysia, our small and medium enterprise, their contribution to employment is about 50%, but their contribution to GDP is only 40%. So you can imagine, it means that most of these small, medium organization, they actually lack a resource to do
Correct.
transformation. Now, and in fact, those are the bigger firms that are able to do the transformation and do the change here. Now, so for Malaysians, if let's say for example, is that we want to create a success venture, we cannot treat Malaysia as a market alone here. We need the Southeast Asia. Because the Southeast Asia part, we have Indonesia, which is a big population size.
Right.
Okay, and then at the same time that we have Thailand, we have Vietnam, and we also have a small country with only 7 million population, but with high purchasing power, Singapore. So that therefore is like for a successful venture here, for Malaysian is like we need to think about it's a region. And that therefore, so the success of the region will lead to the success for a country, will success for a new product here. Now, so because of this perspective here, which means that to be successful, one of the advantage for Malaysian is that we are in a very diverse culture society. So we have three major races, Malay, Chinese, and Indian. So,
Right.
so because of the diverse culture here, this basically means that we have more tendency to appreciate and understand the differences. So that therefore, so we launch product or idea where we think about, is this product not only for one group, or is this product now for different type of groups here? So therefore, we're able to capture the diversities. I think that's one approach here. Now, definitely government also provides support, but the support from Malaysian government is not significant. The amount is quite small. So that therefore is like we have to. I think that the main challenge now is all going back to we need to think outside from bringing the investor into Malaysia here.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Dr. Lee, as I said, entrepreneurship being a major vision of GIBS Business School, we have coined our flagship program as IRE, Innovation, Research, and Entrepreneurship. So I want to know your opinion about the first two letters. What role does innovation and research play in an entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, innovations. Okay, let me look at this part here. Now, let me start from how I started respond to your first question. Remember the first question I mentioned about when we design program, the first thing is about creativity and innovation.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So therefore, the creative innovation is a core for the success of an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Okay, because if an entrepreneur is unable to have creativity and innovations, which mean that they were not able to have problem solving, because problem solving always linked to start from that. Then also is that because of creativity, because of innovations here, it basically means that a company or an idea were able to lead to competitive advantage here. So innovation is I'll say that is more like I'll put the two things, creative and innovation are the so-called other than ability to find opportunity, but ability to find opportunity also linked to creativities. So that therefore, that this actually will be in terms of broader perspective, they are the key thing for the success of an entrepreneur.
Very true. The most important part in an entrepreneurial journey, and I'm sure we have included that in our respective syllabuses as well. I'm sure it is part of it in the MILA University as well, happens to be the financial management. That's
Mhm.
the most important key ingredient, I would say, to venture into something that is big and massive. So, what are your tips to the budding entrepreneurs on financial management? How do these entrepreneurs should manage the very important resources, which is financial resources?
Okay. You agree?
You being an economist, I think you're the very right
Yeah,
person to answer about
yeah.
it.
I think that you agree with me. If we don't have a financial model,
Hmm.
basically any ideas we were not able to get investor.
Correct.
Because investors always look at finance perspective.
Right.
They look at when they dump the money into an ideas and how long these ideas will sunk their investment and when actually that the return will come in here. So
Mm.
that therefore it's like because of the importance of financial management here is that we really need to have a detailed budget, okay, to actually convince the investor that the ideas based on the amount that the investor willing to put in and able to create a successful product or successful services here. Now, so because of this reason is that, and then also a good financial management is very important for an entrepreneur to craft a pitch to attract investor. So I think that this is more like without the financial management, a lot of things that will come in later, they'll be disconnected here. So because of this reason, uh, I think that it's quite difficult whether an entrepreneur now able to create a detailed budget. Okay, and whether entrepreneurs here able to monitor cash flow. We all know cash flow and profit are completely different. You can make a profit, but have no cash flow. So
Correct.
that therefore it's like this is something that which is critical that for I would say that uh a venture, a new business venture to stay afloat at a different stage of the progress here.
Great. Of late, in the last few years, we have been talking very high on the terminologies like green economy, sustainability,
Mm.
social impact, and all of that. So, what's your take on this? Why is that we are talking so much about green today? We all know the obvious reason, global warming and all that, but what's your
Mm. Oh, okay. Now, let me wear a different hat here because years ago I and my co-author wrote a paper about why people practice CSR.
correct?
Basically, the paper is talk about greenwashing.
Mhm.
It's more like um, for a company to attract investor and for the company to attract convince consumer that their product is the right product for them to purchase here. So I think that if you look at let me look at business perspective. Now, when we look at sustainability, when we look at impact to the communities here, are we doing this because of our community, or are we doing this because we want the people perceive that we are different?
Correct.
And so because of this, you support my business. Because of this, you join my company as a new talent to help my company to grow here. So we have to, but I believe that at the moment, this is unavoidable because that's how many organizations now they do the positionings here. And then it's like if let's say I tie this thing back to entrepreneurs. Now, should an entrepreneurs involved in this type of activities? Now, the answer for me is at the initial stage, they should keep away from here. Now, you may say, "Oh, surprise suggest these sort of things," because usually at the initial stage of developing the business, the resources is very, very limited. So therefore, a lot of resources is like need to be pump into the right direction for the product developments here. And then also for understanding the market here. But definitely, it doesn't mean that I say keep away from this activity, mean that we neglect the social impact here, neglect sustainability goal here. Now, because these are companies that they need time to understand what type of impact they need to create for the society. It's not about now I want to create impact. I just jump into just like a bandwagon, follow on everyone here. So they need to understand precisely about with limited resources available, what they want to create here. So that is my personal. I know that my point to you is a bit different. A lot of people say that it's good to have, but I'm looking at another perspective. Yeah.
That's great. Before I take up the final question on your message to my students, with your permission, I'll take a couple of questions what I have received in my inbox from my students who are listening to you.
Mhm.
Yes. All right, here you go. What are the top three habits every entrepreneur should develop? The top three habits.
Top three habit. Okay. If you refer to me, I would say that the top three habit here, the first one, they are good communicator. Because if you really have a good interaction with any entrepreneurs, they're able to communicate their points clearly, and they're able to explain their ideas to potential investors to let them believe that this is something that they should believe in for this. Then the next thing is communication. The next part will be interpersonal skill, because why? You need to bring the team. So therefore, when you want to bring the team together, you must able to deal with the emotion of the team when there is a down and with a success. So therefore, it's like these two communications and interpersonal skill need to put together, because why? These two also part of the leadership. Because from here you build the leadership from this part here. So therefore, when you look at this, I'll put this three thing is more like interlinked aspect here, because why? We need to act as a leader, and you must able to do a communication and also able to interact with the people here.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic.
Mm.
Well, the biggest challenge in India is, it's not on the customer acquisition, but on the customer retention,
Mhm.
right? Retaining is always a big challenge. I don't know how it's in Malaysia, but it's definitely yes in India because of the high intense competition, I would say.
Mm.
So, what is your message to the ones who want to retain the customers in their firm?
Okay. Now, let us move one step backward here. Is that we know that every market we have competitions. We know that any market that we go in, we can be the first mover, but as long as there's a success, follow will go into the market. So competitions is unavoidable.
True.
Okay, so we must accept that, in fact, when we become more success, there'll be the degree of competition will increase further. So therefore, is that we always need to ask ourselves here, why we lose our customer? Is it because of our success? We forget about what our customer would like to have. I think that this is something that we need to remind ourselves here, because why success lead to forgetfulness, it means that lead to the business failure. So if we still understand our customer, which means that we're able to find the opportunities to always create product differentiation. It's just sometimes just a simple example. Like today, if you look at iPhone 16, iPhone 15, iPhone 17, what are the major difference here? Very small. But the small difference also attract people to buy the product. So I think that going back to the case of, if we're able to build the brand, like for the iPhone case, if you're able to build the brand and you use the brand as an indication of status, because why people get iPhone not because of iPhone sometimes user friendly. I get iPhone because I can afford it. You cannot afford here. So I think that for customer retention perspective is always go back to my first point here. We forget our customer. Okay, if we still know our customer, we were able to handle customer well. We build the expectations. We were able to attract them. The second thing is we forget about our branding. So
Correct.
without the branding, people will move away here. So
True.
I think that those are the 2 points here.
Great. Great. That's a very interesting question. I love this question. How do you balance speed and quality? Both of it. In anything, maybe it in the surveys or in a product, in anything.
Okay. Speed and quality. Okay. It's a difficult question because when we want to launch a product or the service, you
Right.
need to have a minimum quality.
Correct.
I think that the threshold of quality cannot be forgotten. But if we're able to go for the minimum threshold for quality, we know we are able to sustain that. The speed become crucial because right, the speed will allow us to penetrate the market. Because we need to go into the market to capture the first group of the customer, and then from here we generate our revenue. Because why? Without revenue, we cannot do further
Correct.
innovation. We cannot do further quality improvement. So therefore, it's like we cannot say that, oh, because our quality is still not there yet in comparison to other competitor. Now, then the mindset is wrong because why? If we compare to other competitor in terms of same quality, it means that my product and competitor product are exactly the same. There's no differentiations here. So if you're able to attract the consumer, it means that we should able to differentiate our product, but with small differentiations here, the quality we still able to grab the customer here. I think that that's very important because why? If you don't launch the product, another player can launch the product before we achieve finalize here. So that's how competition work here.
True. True. There is one question like, can I get into my entrepreneurial journey while I'm still working full time?
Okay. I think that this is possible because why? Let's go back to again. I will go refer to what I said earlier. Now, entrepreneurship is a journey to create and managing a new business venture,
Right.
and then entrepreneurships is linked to identifying opportunities. Therefore, I think that the first thing is that because sometimes we don't have financial resources, okay, to start a team, and we need to work to maintain the family. But if we able from our working, we able to acquire knowledge, we able to identify the opportunities, then, if we know the opportunity, then from here, is like we look at the case of business planning to attract the investment. I think that this part is not the case of not possible. It will be a bit more challenging, but to some extent, for those who are more risk averse, it's an option because why? You have a job, you have an income, rather than you jump into entrepreneurship. You say my full-time job is here. I rely on investors here. So I think that let's go back to the, one point here. We need the self-confidence and self-belief. Okay, so therefore, it's like anything are feasible and possible here.
That's very interesting. There's other two questions more. There's a concept of zero debt policy. So, I mean, the question is whether the company should focus on zero debt policy or getting into debt is very important for expansion plans, for growth.
Zero debt, very likely that at the initial stage, not feasible, not
Right.
possible.
Right.
Because when we think about zero debt, this means that we are highly uh, risk averse.
Hmm.
When we start to be risk averse, this means that we avoid the opportunities and we avoid those we perceive as high risk here. I think that because you see, let's come back to here. Why we need investor? And then we need investors sometimes at the initial stage, we anticipate that that can be the loss, okay, the loss-making period here. But usually any good venture, if you look at the data now, is that the returns will come in, not in 1 or 2 years, the return will come in the future. So now it's like if let's say we go for zero debt and we don't take any risk in terms of this decision making, then nothing will happen. We're unable to really create and find the right opportunities here.
Very true.
That's my view. That's my view. Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Mm.
How do I ensure I get into quality hiring in the initial stages? How do I make sure that I get the right people in my venture?
Ah. Uh, Hiring never be perfect process. Because why? If you look at hiring process here, we only able to interact with our peers or our subordinate based on few short interaction during the interview. Okay, therefore, if you look at interview process. Interview process actually is not a good process for us to actually understand our subordinate or maybe another person that will help us. So when we look at hiring process here, we actually need to go for more like peer-to-peer conversation, spend a bit of time to understand. So it's like, if you want to get the right person, we have to remove the traditional interview process. We have to engage the person into different type activities like which you and that person can work together. So that's just a simple example. This was shared by my friends who about 20 years ago, my classmate, when he was invited by Boston Consulting Group for an interview. Boston Consulting Group gave him a flight ticket and asked him to take a flight to go to Langkawi, Malaysia, from UK to Malaysia to join a dinner. So basically, it's not Boston Consulting, the evaluator will look at stand aside, look at how this person able to interact with the senior people during the events here. So they look at this type of interaction skill here because they look at ideas. Now, and then years ago, like in Malaysia, Standard Chartered Bank. Now, Standard Chartered Bank, they have a special vacancies. They talk about after you go for, if you've been recruited, after 2 years of training, you start as a manager in a bank, not like stuff like
Correct.
that.
Right.
Now, the first stage of the process is the qualified candidate be identified to join games. So they actually play games for half day. Okay, so then from here, so the bank will look at how the interactions, identify the collaborators and who can be the leader. Now, then the next thing that the second stage is basically is like just the invitee will be given a laptop on the spot. You can go internet or anything here. You are required to write a short reports, okay, based on the topics. So they want them, if you're able to have leadership skill, the next thing is your writing skill and your analytical skill to solve problems here. So I think that now it's like if you look at this, which means that to get the right staff for entrepreneurial firms here, that firm start entrepreneurial activities, we cannot go for conventional interview. We need to think about how we able to do activity to identify the right candidate. Okay, thank you.
That's great. The last question from the student. Two important matters in the business is the right entry and the right exit. So what's your thought on that?
Okay. Right entry is very important because what I say is very important here because the market opportunity sometimes it appear for short time. If you cannot be the first mover, you miss the opportunities, then
True.
you were not able to penetrate the market anymore. Now, the right exit. I think that the right exit here, I would say like this. If we able to create a good products or a good service, and we able to understand our customers, and which means that we able to do change in our product and services, we allow to extend our product life cycle because product life cycle can be extend. Now, so therefore it's like if possible, the right exit should not happen. Which means that we should able to, based on what we have now, is like keep on let the product to continue here. But definitely for some cases is like it's not an option here. We just need to let the product to kill off. So I personally believe in because why to start the based on product life cycle, the initial stage time can be quite long. So therefore we need to prolong the product here in terms of the earning part here.
That's great. That's great.
Hmm.
So I think we are the fag end of the wonderful interaction, I would say, and the best part of it, we were able to touch up on everything from the ideation to the risk management to the exit. So that was the beauty of this conversation with an expert like you. So before we end, Dr. Lee, there are about many students watching us live, and there are many who would watch the recorded, versions of these talks when we upload that in our official YouTube channel.
Mhm.
One question I would always love to ask the expert is that what is your final message to the budding entrepreneurs watching you who are really excited to get into this venture for the very first time? What is your open message to them?
Okay, may not be the 100% correct one because every venture have different type of challenges.
Yeah,
So I would say that be bold and be confident. Because why? If you're not bold enough, if you're not confident enough, you will not start anything. But basically, you never move your first step. So therefore, it's like if a person would like to be an entrepreneur, the fundamental thing is move the first step. That is what we need to do. Now, it can be a failure, but we understand here, this is a journey. Then we do the reflections.
that's right. Lovely. Lovely, Professor Lee. I mean, it was indeed an honor and pleasure to have hosted you. I would definitely love to see you once in my campus in India. Have you visited India before? I forgot to ask you that.
Yes, I've been to India before.
Is it?
Yeah.
But I'm making sure that you're not living back without visiting us.
No, 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 no. In fact, India's, I quite like the country.
Mhm.
I went in Delhi. I eat street food, no issue.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So, well, thank you so much for your precious time with us. It is indeed a wonderful interaction, I would say. I would also especially thank all the participants who have joined us across the country for being the best audience, and you have posted huge many questions. I truly appreciate that. But I was only able to take some of them due to time paucity. But otherwise, I was very happy to have you amongst us. So yes, we are ending of one of the another exciting session at IRE Talks. And on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of the faculties and the management of GIBS, I extend my heartfelt thanks to you, Dr. Lee. Thank you so much for joining from Malaysia. It was indeed a pleasure to host you. And
Thank you.
anyone who has not joined us yet or not subscribed us yet, to please do follow us on all the social media platforms of GIBS Business School and GIBS IRE Talks. I have a special request too. Please follow Professor Lee in LinkedIn. I mean, he is very, very dynamic there. I mean, you tend to see a lot of information and updates, which is very, very important. So, thank you so much for joining us. And on behalf of the team, I extend my heartfelt thanks to all of them who are part of it. Thank you so much for now. This is Professor Guru Prasad signing off. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.